exciting moment. UPI for NRIs is
Just
here.
get started, yeah.
Essentially, it helps you pay bills when you're abroad. You have a light bill, your phone bill, you own a flat here, or you have old parents and you need to take care of them. You need to pay their bills. You can do it from abroad. Huge relief because it connects your international phone number to your Indian bank account.
You should have a bank which supports the UPI transaction, and you should have a UPI platform which supports the UPI transactions.
So, like one of the biggest platforms in India is GPay, Google Pay, which which has not enabled UPI for NRIs.
More importantly, the transactions are only in rupee INR. So, for example, one is staying in Australia and another is staying in UK. They both are NRIs having two different international numbers. So, they cannot transact through phone numbers. One needs a QR code.
Hello and welcome to Moneynomics with Mint. We're going to be talking about a very, very exciting thing that's happened of late, which is that the government has made UPI available to NRIs. It's been a huge problem for NRIs for many, many years that they haven't been able to use UPI with their international numbers. So some NRIs did link it to their Indian numbers, but when you go abroad, you can't obviously use NRI. So to decode what the government has done, I'm joined by my colleague Anil Poste.
Yes.
So first, just to describe what's happened, the government made this move, I think, almost a year ago, many months ago. And then the banking industry has slowly built out those apps. So ICICI Bank has taken the initiative here. A lot of people have, NRIs have linked their ICICI. They started using UPI on ICICI, the app.
Yeah.
And what does this help you do? Essentially, it helps you pay bills when you're abroad. You have a light bill, your phone bill, you own a flat here, or you have old parents and you need to take care of them. You need to pay their bills. You can do it from abroad. Huge relief. And essentially what it does is it connects your international phone number to your Indian bank account. I want to stress this, international phone number to your Indian bank account.
Right.
A lot of people think it's going to make the international bank account UPI friendly. No. We haven't got there. And also it's the international number. So if you connect your domestic number, that was anyway being done by many NRIs.
That's right.
But the problem with that is once you go abroad, it doesn't become functional.
Yeah.
Okay, Anil, so can you give me the process? How do you set this up? How do the NRI set this up?
Yeah, so the first and foremost things that NRIs should do is to link their international numbers with their banks, which means their NRO and NRE banks.
So on the KYC forms, the international number should be
right. This they can do by reaching out to their bankers, respective bankers, and so far they kept linking the Indian bank account to their numbers,
to the Indian number,
so that they can receive the OTPs and all. So now they can link their international number to their.
You get
banks.
OTPs abroad.
You also get OTPs. So after that. You install the app which supports. There are selected list of apps which support UPI transactions. Also selective banks. Install the UPI app. Enter your international number. You can register on the UPI app just the way resident Indian use the UPI apps. The process takes some few seconds, and then that's it, and you can get started.
And as most of you know, UPI is free of charge, so there are no costs in this process. Anil, can you name me some UPI apps which have enabled this, and some banks which have enabled this? Because it's really important that both of these should be in place. Like you can have an app that's enabled it, but if your bank has not enabled it, then you can't use it, and vice versa. So
so it's both. Both are equally important. You should have a bank which supports the UPI transaction, and you should have a UPI platform which supports the UPI transactions. So for example, there are a few banks which have started UPI transactions. Start supporting UPI transactions. They are HDFC Bank, IDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, and Axis Banks. There are about 8 to 10.
There's a list. You can refer to the Mint article. We've given the entire list.
Yes, sure. And there are UPI apps which support this platform which support these transactions, which are FoodPay, Bheem app, and AU Bank, AU Bank's UPI app, and ICICI Bank, of course, iMobile, which the people they have started. One of the first people who started with this.
So in some banks' case, you have to note that the bank itself has a UPI app. So the ICICI Bank iMobile, right?
Right.
Is a UPI app and
AU Small Finance.
And it's also and AU. So it's also a bank. So essentially, the same institution is performing the function, but you can have Beam, for example, which is a government
Right.
initiative. It's a UPI app, and your own bank could be whatever, Axis or HDFC, and
That's right.
still it would work.
The problem that most people are facing here is they would have a bank that supports UPI transactions, but they might be trying to use a UPI, trying to make the UPI transaction from the platform which doesn't support. So there they might get errors.
Yeah. So like one of the biggest platforms in India is GPay, Google Pay, which which has not enabled UPI for NRIs. Now, there are some transfers which are permissible and some which are not permissible for NRIs. So essentially making payments, like if you want to pay any utility bill, any company, any provider, you can do it. Whether it's your NRO or NRE account, no problem. Similarly, you can transfer from your NRE to your NRO account, again, no problem.
No problem.
What you can't do is you can't transfer from the NRO to the NRE account.
Definitely.
Through UPI, and because that needs a certificate. It needs a 15 CA-CV certificate of tax paid. It's a somewhat paper-driven, lengthy process. But other than that, I think...
Yeah. Other than that, pretty much all transactions, except from, is what I said, O2E is not allowed.
O2E is...
That means the money goes from domestic account to the foreign account.
Yes, because NRE is what is called freely repatriable. So you can take out the entire balance abroad. Therefore, there are certain rules in place for it. Anything else that we should mention?
Yes, more importantly, the transactions are only in rupee INR.
Yes.
So they happen only in INR, not in the international currency. So
right. That's right. All right, folks, there you have it.
Yeah.
Exciting moment. UPI for NRIs is
just
here.
Started, yeah.
Yep. It started, and I expect it's a matter of months before all of the major banks join, and maybe even the big app like GPay is probably going to join.
Yeah. Probably going to join.
So, Anil, let's talk about a couple of features that are there in UPI.
Sure.
So, one thing or issue that can come up is if you have a joint account, right? So, there it's only the primary holder who can operate the UPI,
right? So, only the primary account holder. So, for example, if I have a joint account, so if the second holder is my, let's say, wife or my parent, so only I can access the UPI, only I can make payments or any changes or any transfers. So, in this case, second holder is restricted to not to use the UPI.
Yeah, correct. Another feature that also applies to normal UPI is that you can use UPI even if the other person doesn't have.
Yeah. So on the platform, you get to make the transfer even if other persons, for example, if I want to make a transfer to Neil, right? So if Neil doesn't have UPI, so there's an option on UPI app that I can use his bank account and IFSC code and make the transfer to him. This is a feature which is being made available for the UPI app for NRIs. Yeah.
Yeah. So NRIs can transfer money to people who, as long as they have just the account number and the IFSC.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, one issue that some NRIs have faced is what happens when they come to India and they have done this linking with the international number.
Yeah.
Now, ideally, you're not required to do a re-registration, right? But we've got some replies saying that
some people are asked to re-register, although the rule says re-register not needed.
He's not needed,
but still some people are facing this issue.
Yeah, so be a little careful with that. There's one more interesting case, Anil, which is if two NRIs have downloaded UPI and linked it to their respective accounts, NRI A cannot transfer money to NRI B based on just the phone number, right?
Right. They are two different NRIs. So, for example, one is staying in Australia and another is staying in UK. They both are NRIs having two different international numbers, so they cannot transact through phone numbers. One needs a QR code in order to send the money to the receiver.
Yeah.
So that's the case.
Yeah, and it's important to note that even though we're talking about NRIs based in two different countries, it's essentially rupees moving from one bank account to another rupee bank account. Even then, this restriction is there that you can't just transfer it to the phone number.
Right.
You need a QR code.
Right. However, you can make the payment through through numbers only if it's Indian. So,
yeah, of course, Indian residence number is sufficient.
Yeah. All right. Yes.